There are a decent number of realms to choose from in Age of Wonders 4, but if you're willing to put in the work, there can be an infinite number of possibilities in custom realms. Today we're going to go through the entire realm creation process so that you can craft the perfect map to conquer. When creating a realm, it's important to remember that you're not exactly handcrafting it, at least not in the traditional sense. You don't build up the map one tile at a time, making it into the perfect shape. You instead select from a wide range of parameters which will determine how the map is automatically generated. This does mean you're missing out on a lot of personal control and intricate detailing, but it also means you can be surprised by how the map turns out and where you start in it every time you play. So first things first, along the top we can pick realm traits. First up is geography, and this dictates what shape the land mass or masses will be and what features will divide them up, and so on. Each option explains itself in the tooltips, so have a quick read and pick whichever one you like. Of course, some will be more difficult than others, so bear in mind how each one will play when making your choice. Next, we have the climb trait, which decides your map's primary climate, and again, the tooltips will tell you what each one consists of. This mostly dictates the visuals of the map, but will also affect what sorts of resource node you might come across, as well as any map effects from turbulent weather. The inhabitants trait decides what non-player entities you'll come across, so basically what monsters and beasts you'll find roaming the map, and most of the time need to battle. You can pretty much tell what you're going to be fighting against from the picture, but the tooltips are there too. This is mostly just adding some flavour and theming to your realm, so pick whichever goes best with your plan. And finally, the presence trait, and we only have one of these so far. Pretender Kings. This spawns 3 kings into the game from the start who are at constant war with each other, and it adds a new victory condition. If you manage to take them all out or form an alliance with the victor, you'll get the win. On the second row, you can pick miscellaneous traits, and these are the same choice for all 4 slots. There's a wide selection here to choose from that can affect how often certain things spawn on the map, how free cities and other rulers behave, as well as several unit modifiers. You can mix and match to do some truly wacky stuff. Just remember that not all of them are compatible, and you don't have to fill up every single slot if you don't want to, so just pick up what works for you and your game. Below this we have player distance and the number of players, and this determines how large the map is when created, so less players and distance between them makes a smaller map, and more players further apart makes a big one. The turn system decides how turns are taken, with classic being each empire does their thing one by one, and simultaneous being all empires take their turn at the same time. For the most part, I'd leave this on classic and only really go into simultaneous when playing with other people to keep things moving faster. Below this you can name your realm and choose the visual on the portal. And you're done, unless you want to go into the advanced settings and really make the perfect map for you. On the factions tab, you can select what rulers you'll be going up against in your realm. You can leave this on random if you want something different every time, and if you really want to spice things up, you can take rulers are generated, which will randomly create new rulers to go up against each game rather than going from the preset list. You can even add your own custom factions to go up against, so if you wanted a completely themed realm and game with custom factions, you can easily do that. You can also change the difficulty of the AI from here, either overall or on a per ruler basis. Say you want to make the evil rulers really strong, the good ones to be really weak to make overcoming evil a real challenge. You can also set up teams which will put each ruler onto one of 12 teams, so you can have preset alliances from the start and engage in massive multi-faction wars right from the get-go. Moving on to game flow, you can enable a turn timer to restrict how much time you can take per turn. I'd leave this off when starting out and only really enable it if you want to challenge or are playing with others and you don't want turns going on for hours at a time. Game speed decides the pace of the game by modifying how long certain buildings take to be built, research speed, and more. Starting conditions decides how many resources each ruler starts with, as well as the size of their army, so really decides how quickly you can get up and running. World threat decides the general strength of independent armies and how fast they upgrade their strength and send out attackers, basically deciding how intense the PvE situation will be. You can change how many turns it takes to reach the score victory timer or disable it altogether. You can also choose to enable or disable any of the other victory types. And lastly, you can decide when to automatically resurrect heroes after combat. And finally, we have combat. You can decide whether to automatically or manually fight battles with AI and humans. I'd personally always leave this one on ask every time, but if you really hate battling or if you like to play every single one, you have the option. Observe manual combat only really matters in multiplayer and decides when you can watch another player manually battling. Tactical idle timer adds a turn timer to manual battles, and the length is decided by a baseline with more time per units you control. Enable combat retry lets you enable or disable the ability to retry combat from the results screen, and enable combat restart allows you to restart a battle you're currently fighting. Personally, since it's a single player game, I think both of these are totally fine, but if you're looking for a more hardcore run, turning these off is the way to go. And that's pretty much everything there is to know about making a custom realm in Age of Wonders 4. Like, subscribe, and if you want more Age of Wonders content, check out this video to see my complete beginner's guide.